Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking a fruit that's, well, everywhere the blueberry, and basically turning it into a complete instructional manual.
Yeah, this isn't just about, muffins or pancakes.
No, definitely not. We're doing a full, deep analysis, the botanical side, the commercial production, and then some really out there culinary stuff. Boundary pushing, you could say.
That's right. And we've got quite the stack of sources. We're pulling from dense academic fact sheets covering everything from plant classification right down to integrated pest management.
And then switching gears completely into this, well, maximalist guide to preserves. Seriously, 22 different techniques and flavor pairings. It's intense.
So the mission for you, the learner, is to really get a thorough, actionable understanding of this fruit fast. Think of this deep dive as a masterclass.
Yeah, it's this core duality that's kind of fascinating in the sources. We're going to unpack the hard science, the genus Vaccinium, and right alongside that, the secrets to making things like blueberry duck fat confit or get this blueberry sauerkraut ferment.
It's field science meets kitchen science. pH meters 1 minute, pH strips the next.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, first off, what makes a blueberry a blueberry? Scientifically, they're perennial flowering plants, blue or purple berries, obviously. They belong to the section Cyanococcus within the bigger Vaccinium genus.
And that Cyanococcus bit is important, isn't it?
It is, because pretty much all commercial blueberries you eat today, whether they're the small wild low bush type or the big cultivated high bush ones, they all originated in North America. That's their native home.
Right, so it's fundamentally a North American fruit story. The fact that you find them grown globally now is actually quite recent, historically speaking.
Exactly. Those high bush varieties, the big ones, they only really made it over to Europe in the 1930s. Before that, Europeans had bilberries, but not these North American blueberries.
Okay, part one, the blueberry blueprint. Let's lock down that scientific foundation.
Right. So the full address, if you will. Kingdom Plantae, Order Ericales, Family Ericaceae, that's the heath family, includes rhododendrons too, interestingly. Then genus Vaccinium, and finally section Cyanococcus. Knowing this helps distinguish true blueberries from, lookalikes.
And physically, these plants are surprisingly diverse in size, right?
Yeah.
That jumped out at me.
Yeah, hugely variable. You can have these tiny little ground-hugging shrubs, maybe only 10 centimeters, like 4 inches tall.
Wow.
And then you have the cultivated high bush types that can be managed to grow up to 4 meters. That's like 13 feet tall, a massive range.
Which leads us straight to that key commercial difference, low bush versus high bush.
Exactly. Let's start with low bush. These are often marketed as wild blueberries, though they're managed pretty intensively. They produce these small, really flavorful, pea-sized berries that grow low to the ground.
And Canada's the big player here.
Canada's the leading producer of low bush, yeah. We see different species adapted to different areas, like V. angustifolium in eastern Canada and the U.S., V. boreal further north.
V. myrtleoids, the sour top, V. pallidum, the dryland blueberry, they all have their niches.
Right. And their reproductive strategy is fascinating. They do cross-pollinate, which creates genetic diversity through seeds, but they also have this amazing ability to spread underground using stems called rhizomes.
Ah, the rhizomes. Let's dig into that because it's key for how these wild fields work.
It really is. These rhizomes spread out and the plant basically clones itself, creating these large, dense patches where all the plants are genetically identical.
So one plant becomes a whole mat.
Exactly. But a whole field, what they call a barren, isn't just one clone. It's made up of hundreds, maybe thousands of these distinct clonal patches, all mixed together.
And that mix is important.
Crucial. Each clone might bloom at a slightly different time, have slightly different fruit characteristics, maybe different disease resistance. That diversity protects the whole field. If one clone gets hit by something, the others might be fine.
Smart survival strategy. And these berries are tiny average weight, just 0.3 grams. That's minuscule.
Tiny, but packed with flavor. Now contrast that with high bush blueberries. These are the ones deliberately bred for cultivation.
Bigger berries, taller bushes, easier to harvest commercially.
Right. And the U.S. is the world leader in producing these. About 27% of the global supply comes from the States.
The leaves on these high bush types like V. corymbosum can be deciduous or evergreen, sort of ovate, 1 to 8 centimeters long. And the flowers are these little bell shapes, white, pale pink, sometimes reddish or greenish.
And we absolutely have to mention the third type, Rabbit-eye blueberries.
Mhm.
V. virgatum, or V. achae.
Right, the southern variety.
Yeah, it's distinct from both high bush and low bush. Critically, it tolerates hotter climates and tougher soils much better, which makes it super important for growers in the southern U.S. and similar regions.
Okay, here's a really practical instruction bit. How do you, the consumer, tell a true blueberry from something that looks similar, like a bilberry or huckleberry?
This is the key giveaway, the identification secret. Cut the berry in half. A ripe, true blueberry from the Cyanococcus section will have light green flesh inside.
Light green, not blue or purple.
No, light green. If you cut it open and the flesh is red or purple all the way through, you've probably got a bilberry or a huckleberry, not a Cyanococcus blueberry.
That's fascinating. Why the difference?
It's about where the pigment, the anthocyanins, are concentrated. True blueberries have most of it right in the skin. Bilberries and huckleberries have it distributed throughout the pulp as well.
So that's why blueberry pie filling can sometimes look clear inside with a blue top, while bilberry pie is just purple through and through.
Exactly. Now, the fruit itself size ranges from 5 to 16 millimeters across, and you can watch them ripen. They go from pale green, then reddish purple, and finally that uniform deep blue when they're ready.
And that dusty coating, the bloom.
Yeah, the bloom. It's not dust. It's actually a natural protective layer of epicuticular wax.
Protective how?
Well, it repels water, which slows down moisture loss, so the berry lasts longer. It also acts as a physical barrier against tiny insects and microbes. Seeing a good bloom means the berries were handled gently.
Good sign. And fruiting time varies quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. Depending on where you are in the northern hemisphere climate, altitude, latitude, you could be picking blueberries any time from May through August. That long window is great for the commercial supply. Okay, moving into part 2. Cultivation, history, and global dominance. This story of domesticating the high bush blueberry, mostly in New Jersey around the start of the 20th century, it's a real horticultural achievement.
People had been eating wild blueberries for thousands of years, right?
Yeah.
Indigenous peoples in North America certainly were. But making it a reliable crop, that took science.
It really did. And the two names you need to know are Frederick Vernon Coville, a USDA botanist, and Elizabeth Coleman White.
White had the practical experience running a cranberry operation in Whitesbog, New Jersey.
Exactly. And she did something brilliant. She offered cash rewards to local folks, the Pineys, who knew the wild lands best.
For finding exceptional wild plants.
Yeah, plants with unusually big berries or great flavor or good productivity. She basically crowdsourced the initial genetic material. It was like the first big field trial using local knowledge.
And Coville brought the scientific rigor. What were his key findings?
3 absolutely critical things. First, blueberries need acidic soil. They just won't grow otherwise. That ideal pH range is 4.2 to 5.2 for wild types. Generally, low pH are needed for cultivated ones, too. They are calcifuges. They hate calcium alkaline soils.
Okay, acid soil. What else?
Second, they don't self-pollinate well. You need cross-pollination between different compatible varieties planted near each other to get good fruit set.
So you can't just plant one type of bush.
Not usually, no. And third, he figured out their chilling requirement. They need a certain amount of cold winter dormancy for the flower buds to develop properly in the spring.
Ah, so that limits where they can be grown commercially, too.
Precisely. Their breeding program, starting around 1911, used these principles. They crossed the best wild plants White had collected, and the results were dramatic.
They doubled the fruit size on some strains.
Yeah, and improved yields uniformity.
Oh.
By 1916, blueberry farming was becoming a real commercial possibility, not just gathering wild fruit. Their work is literally the foundation for modern blueberry cultivation.
So for anyone listening who might want to try growing blueberries, those requirements are still paramount today.
Absolutely. That acidic soil is number one. And because they have these shallow, kind of inefficient root systems, they usually need extra fertilizer. They like sandy or loam soils best.
And mulch is important.
Very important. A thick layer of mulch helps keep the soil consistently moist and cool for those shallow roots. But here's a big warning, a common mistake.
Okay.
Over-fertilizing, especially with nitrogen. Blueberries are sensitive. Too much nitrogen causes nitrogen burn.
What does that look like?
You'll see the edges of the leaves turning yellow or brown. Sometimes the leaves just drop off. The plant looks stressed. Growers have to be really careful, maybe use slow-release nitrogen or apply smaller amounts more often.
Got it. Okay, let's look at the production map now. Where are all these blueberries coming from?
Well, in 2023, global production was huge, 1.2 million tons. The big 3 are the U.S., Peru, and Canada.
The U.S. leading with 27%, about 333,000 tons.
Then Peru with 19%, around 229,000 tons, and Canada at 14%, roughly 167,000 tons. Peru's rise has been incredibly fast, supplying the northern hemisphere during our winter.
And within the U.S., it shifts around, but Oregon was leading in 2018 just ahead of Washington.
Right, around 59 million kilos from Oregon then. But you've got major production in Georgia, Michigan, New Jersey, California, North Carolina too. It's pretty widespread.
And Hamilton, New Jersey, still calls itself the blueberry capital of the world, sticking to its roots.
They do. Over 80% of Jersey's cultivated crop comes from that area, and you can't forget Maine's wild blueberries. That's their official state fruit.
Right, those low bush fields, the barrens. About 44,000 hectares farmed, but they only harvest half each year.
Yeah, they manage them through pruning or burning every 2 years, so one half rests and regrows while the other half is harvested. It's a sustainable cycle.
In Canada, you said 14% of world production? How does that break down?
Okay, Canada's 2024 forecast was about 165,000 tons. It's their second biggest fruit crop after apples, but it's very geographically specific.
How so?
For the cultivated high bush berries, British Columbia dominates, produces something like 94% of the national total. It's huge out there.
Wow. And the wild low bush.
That's more eastern. Quebec is the biggest producer, around 47%. Then New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, and PEI follow. Oxford, Nova Scotia claims the title Wild Blueberry Capital of Canada. Lots of blueberry capitals.
Seems like it. And globally, high bush keeps spreading.
Oh, yeah. Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands got them back in the 30s. Now you see places like Romania really ramping up cultivation just in the last few years. Big market.
And the southern hemisphere is key for year-round supply.
Absolutely. Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Peru, Uruguay, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Zimbabwe. They're all in the game now.
Yeah.
Australia had a tough start, though.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, introductions in the 50s didn't take well. Wrong varieties. They finally figured out the right genetics and got successful trials going in the 1970s. It takes time to adapt the crop.
Now, as we talk about this massive global scale, the sources mention something important we need to include, neutrally.
Right, the labor aspect. A 2014 report from the Bureau of International Labor Affairs specifically listed blueberries as one of the goods produced in Argentina under conditions involving child labor or forced labor.
So we're just noting what the report stated, not validating it, but acknowledging that the complexity of global supply chains sometimes involves these difficult issues, even for a fruit with humble origins.
Exactly. It's part of the bigger picture when a native fruit becomes a global commodity.
That context leads us right into part 3, the instructional guide to pest management. Because managing pests is absolutely vital for this kind of global production.
For sure. And even with wild, low-bush blueberries, remember, that's a marketing term. Those fields are managed ecosystems. They prune, they burn, and they definitely manage pests. There's evidence of DDT being used pretty early on, back in the 1940s.
So let's talk integrated pest management, or IPM. It's not just about spraying chemicals, is it?
No, not at all. IPM is a much smarter, more holistic approach. It involves regular scouting to see what pests are actually there and how many. It uses cultural practices like sanitation or choosing resistant varieties. It uses biological controls, encouraging natural enemies of the pests. And then, only when pest levels cross an economic threshold, using targeted chemical controls as a last resort.
Are blueberries particularly prone to pests?
Compared to something like apples, they're actually relatively less bothered by insects. But there are still about 24 insect species considered pests in North America.
And IPM efforts focus on the worst offenders. As of 2019, who were the main targets?
Okay, the big four. Number 1, the absolute worst, is the blueberry maggot fly, Raguletus mendax.
Why is it the worst? Just because it damages the fruit?
That, but crucially, it's a quarantine pest. That means if importing countries like, say, South Korea or Japan detect even one larva in a shipment, they can reject the entire thing, or even ban imports from that region. The economic stakes are enormous.
Okay, so our mendax is public enemy number 1. Who else?
The other main targets are the cranberry fruitworm, Acrobasis vaccini, the cherry fruitworm, Grapholita picardi, and the plum cuculio, Conotrichilus nenuphar. These 4 really impact yield and marketability.
And new challenges pop up, right? Like that invasive fruit fly.
Yes, Drosophila suzuki, the spotted-winged Drosophila. It's a huge problem because, unlike most fruit flies that go for rotten fruit, this one lays its eggs in perfectly healthy, ripening berries.
Us. How do growers manage that?
It requires really careful management. A key IPM strategy is rotating insecticides with different modes of action. If you keep hitting the flies with the same chemical pathway, they develop resistance incredibly fast. You have to mix it up.
But sometimes the solutions cause other problems. You mentioned kale and clay.
Right, that's a fascinating example of an IPM trade-off. Kaolin clay is a physical barrier sprayed on the plants to deter the blueberry maggot fly from laying eggs. It works, kind of. But studies showed it also harms a key natural enemy of the maggot, a tiny parasitoid wasp called Diachasma alloium. The clay interfered with the wasp's ability to find and attack the maggots.
So you deter the pest, but you also suppress its natural predator. That's tricky.
It's a constant balancing act. Growers rely heavily on scouting. If pest numbers are low, below the economic threshold, they might hold off on spraying to let beneficial insects like that wasp do their job.
But if the pest numbers spike, they have to intervene, even if it hurts the beneficials.
Exactly. On the flip side, sometimes deliberately introducing a natural enemy works well, like introducing a European fly, Sezanus albicans, to control the winter moth caterpillar, Oporoptera brumata, which became a pest here. The fly wasn't native, but it turned out to be a good parasitoid for that specific pest.
So the long game is breeding plants that are naturally resistant to pests.
That's the ideal, yes.
Yeah.
But insect resistance breeding in blueberries didn't really become a major focus until around the year 2000.
How do they do it now? Is it faster?
Much faster, thanks to marker-assisted breeding. They use genetic markers, little signposts in blueberry DNA, to quickly identify seedlings that carry genes for pest resistance. You don't have to wait years for the plant to grow up and see if it gets attacked.
Clever. And different blueberry species already have different levels of resistance.
Oh, yes. For instance, rabbit-eye blueberries, Viaceae, are naturally more resistant to a certain leafhopper, Scaphiotopias magdalensis, than the common northern highbush, V. corymbosum.
But less resistant to something else.
Right. Viaceae is less resistant to the blueberry gall midge, Protoplosis vaccinia, compared to another species, V. darrowi. So choosing the right cultivar for your specific location and pest pressures is like your first line of defense in an IPM program.
Okay, massive shift now. We're moving from the science of keeping the crop alive in the field to the science and art of preserving its flavor in the kitchen. This is part 4, the culinary revolution.
But first, a quick nutritional check-in. Raw blueberries are mostly water, about 84%. A 100-gram serving gives you a decent amount, 11 to 16% of your daily needs of vitamin K, vitamin C, and manganese.
And those low-bush wild types, they pack more of a punch nutritionally.
Generally, yes. Studies show they tend to have higher levels of polyphenols and those famous anthocyanin antioxidants compared to the larger high-bush berries. Size isn't everything.
Okay, so the mission here in the kitchen, we're going way beyond simple jam. The sources talk about unlocking the true soul of fruit, creating these unexpected flavor pairings.
Exactly. We're talking preserves, yes, but also chutneys, butters, confits, savory, funky, complex stuff. Let's dive into the first set of 11, the savory and experimental fusions.
What's up? Blueberry roasted carrot akar. Akar is like a South Asian pickle or relish, right?
Sort of, yeah. This one uses sunflower oil, whole coriander and cumin seeds, turmeric, and jaggery. That's an unrefined palm sugar. The absolute key step instructionally is roasting the carrots hot and long, 425 degrees AFR, for 35 minutes until they're deeply sweet and caramelized.
And you bloom the spices.
Yes. Heat the oil, drop in the whole coriander and cumin seeds until they sizzle and pop. That releases all their aroma. Then add the blueberry puree and other ingredients.
Why does this combo work?
It's all about balance. The sharp sweetness of the blueberry cuts through the earthy, deep sweetness of the roasted carrots. And those warm spices, coriander, cumin, turmeric, give it that delicious sort of international groove.
Okay, next. Blueberry caramelized leek chutney. Sounds sophisticated.
It is. You use just the white and light green parts of the leek sliced thin, and the caramelization has to be low and slow. Patience is key here. Give it a good 25 minutes to get them really soft, sweet, and golden.
What else goes in?
Sherry vinegar for sharpness, brown sugar, a bit of Dijon mustard for body, and then the secret weapon, fresh tarragon. But you add that right at the very end, off the heat, so its delicate anise flavor stays bright.
And the logic. Leeks meet blueberry.
The mild, almost oniony sweetness of the caramelized leeks is a fantastic counterpoint to the blueberry's tartness. They balance each other beautifully, and the tarragon just adds that classic French herbal note. Very elegant.
Now, for something completely different, blueberry miso butter. Umami bomb.
Total umami explosion. This one requires serious cooking time. You need to reduce the blueberries until they are incredibly concentrated. We're talking 3 to 4 hours of slow cooking to evaporate water and intensify the flavor.
Yeah, it'd be so.
Yep, red miso paste for that salty, funky depth. Also mirin for a little sweetness and shine, and a touch of toasted sesame oil for nuttiness right at the end.
Why on earth does blueberry and miso work?
It sounds weird, but it's brilliant. The deep, salty, fermented flavor of the miso is the perfect anchor for the intense sweetness of the reduced blueberries. They both share this complex, savory quality umami that makes the combination incredibly addictive. Amazing on toast or even with roast chicken or pork.
Wild. Okay, next up, blueberry horseradish mostarda. Mostarda is an Italian fruit preserve, often with mustard, right?
Exactly. This one starts with a sugar syrup base, sharpened with white wine vinegar. You add yellow mustard seeds for texture and pop, mustard powder for heat, and then fold in the blueberries along with a good kick of prepared horseradish.
Horseradish and blueberry. Seriously.
Seriously. The sharp, pungent heat of the horseradish is a direct contrast to the sweetness of the berries. It's intentionally jarring, makes your palate wake up. And the mustard seeds give it that essential textural bite. It's fantastic with rich meats or strong cheeses.
Okay, moving into luxurious and rebel territory now. Blueberry duck fat confit. This sounds decadent.
It absolutely is. You use rendered duck fat, and temperature control is critical. Heat the fat to exactly 180 degrees Fahrenheit. No hotter. This isn't frying, it's a slow, gentle infusion.
What else goes in the fat?
Aromatics. Think rosemary sprigs, bay leaves, maybe some pink peppercorns. You gently cook whole, large blueberries in this infused fat for about 45 minutes. They soften and absorb the flavors but should still hold their shape.
And how do you serve blueberry confit?
Warm is best. Spoon it over toasted brioche, or pair it with a really good aged cheese like a Comté or an aged Gouda. The richness is incredible. The fat preserves the fruit and carries the aromatics deep inside. Pure luxury.
Then there's a rebel option. Blueberry pickled radish conserve. Pickled radishes.
Yep. This is a wild mix. Thinly sliced pickled radishes, crunchy and tangy mixed with blueberries, some chewy dried apricots, crunchy toasted pistachios for texture.
And it uses pickle juice.
A little bit of the pickle juice from the radishes forms part of the acidic base, adding extra tang.
Yeah.
It's all about sharp contrasts. The sweet fruit, the tangy radish, the rich nut, the chewy apricot. Totally unexpected.
How would you even use that?
It would be amazing with grilled fatty fish like mackerel or salmon, or maybe alongside some charcuterie, cutting through the richness. Definitely a conversation starter.
I'll bet. Okay, blueberry coffee reduction.
This is about creating a deep, dark, complex syrup. You take fresh blueberry juice and strong brewed espresso, and you reduce them together slowly for about 75 minutes.
Until it's thick.
Until it coats the back of a spoon, like a thin velvet. You add brown sugar for depth, a splash of vanilla extract, maybe a touch of cinnamon. The bitterness of the coffee is key. It balances the fruit's sweetness beautifully.
And the obvious use.
Drizzle it over good vanilla bean ice cream. Heaven. Or you could use it in cocktails, or even brush it on pork ribs. Let's add a few more quick ones from the list here. How about blueberry smoked paprika jam?
Smoked paprika, like Spanish pimenton.
Exactly. Use the good stuff, pimenton de la vera. Make a fairly standard blueberry jam, but incorporate that smoky paprika, maybe even a tiny drop of liquid smoke. It gives the jam this wonderful, slightly wood-fired flavor.
I can see that with grilled meats, like pulled pork.
Perfect for that. Or smoked turkey. Then there's blueberry-aged balsamic preserve.
Instead of regular vinegar.
Right. Use a thick, syrupy, high-quality aged balsamic. Cook it down with the berries. The complexity of the balsamic, that sweet tart depth, creates this incredibly luxurious dark preserve.
Goat cheese. Has to be goat cheese.
Phenomenal with goat cheese, yes. Or even drizzled over risotto. And one more for this batch. Blueberry 5 spice chutney.
Classic Asian profile.
Totally. Star anise, cinnamon stick, fennel seeds, Sichuan peppercorns for that little tingle, cloves. You toast them lightly first to wake them up, then simmer them with the blueberries, apple cider vinegar, and fresh ginger. Makes a fantastic savory chutney.
Duck. That screams duck breast.
Absolutely perfect pairing for duck.
Okay, part 5. We're going deeper now. Advanced techniques. Gels, clarification, and the really interesting world of fermentation. This takes us up to the full 22 preserves. We're refining texture, getting technical.
Exactly. Let's start with smoothness and elegance. Blueberry mascarpone curd. This is all about luxurious texture.
Like a lemon curd, but blueberry.
Precisely. But the key instruction here is straining. You need to strain the blueberry puree meticulously through a fine sieve, maybe even lined with cheesecloth to get rid of all the solids.
Mm.
Absolute smoothness is the goal.
And the technique.
You whisk egg yolks and sugar, gently warm the super smooth puree, then combine and cook it very gently over a double boiler, a bain-marie. That indirect heat is crucial to prevent scrambling the eggs. Once it's thickened, you take it off the heat and whisk in rich mascarpone cheese for that incredible creamy finish.
Sounds divine. Okay, what about something sliceable? Blueberry lavender paste, like a membrillo or a fruit cheese.
Exactly like that. The trick here is infusing the flavor gently. You warm honey, use good quality honey with culinary lavender buds for just 15 minutes over low heat. Don't boil it, then strain out the buds immediately.
So you lavender honey.
Infuse lavender honey, yeah. You cook that down with the blueberry puree for maybe 45 minutes to concentrate it, and then the setting agent is agar powder. Agar gives it that firm, perfectly sliceable consistency that pectin sometimes struggles with. Looks stunning on a cheese board.
Agar, not gelatin. Got it.
Yeah.
Now, blueberry cucumber gel. This sounds refreshing and technical.
Very refreshing, and yes, technical. The goal here is clarity and pure flavor. You need to extract clear juice from both the cucumber and the blueberries.
How do you get clear juice?
For the cucumber, puree and strain it thoroughly. You might even need to use a clarifying enzyme like pectinase, or filter it carefully. Same for the blueberry juice, maybe centrifuge and filter. Then you gently heat the clear juices and dissolve agar powder in them to create a shimmering, translucent gel.
Why cucumber?
Because cucumber is mostly water and subtle freshness. It doesn't overpower the blueberry. It acts as a clean, cool backdrop that lets the pure blueberry flavor really shine through. Very modern cuisine.
Okay, let's get funky. Fermentation time. Blueberry sauerkraut ferment. Wait, what?
Haha, yeah. This uses the power of lactofermentation. Instead of a salt brine, you use fresh sauerkraut juice, the liquid from unpasteurized sauerkraut, as your starter culture.
But you're adding microbes.
Exactly, you're adding a thriving community of beneficial lactic acid bacteria. You mix the berries with the juice and maybe a little salt, put it in an airtight fermenting jar with an airlock, and let it bubble away for 7 to 10 days. The bacteria eat the natural sugars in the blueberries and produce lactic acid.
What does it taste like?
Tangy, slightly salty, fizzy, complexly sweet, like a savory fermented blueberry relish, amazing with sausages or rich pate.
Intriguing. Okay, blueberry mint shrub. Shrubs are drinking vinegars, right? An old preservation method making a comeback.
Totally. This one's super refreshing. You start by macerating the blueberries with sugar and lots of fresh mint leaves for 48 hours in the fridge. The sugar draws out the juice and flavor.
Macerating. Just letting it sit.
Yep. Then you strain off the solids, add your vinegar. Apple cider vinegar works well, maybe some cracked black peppercorns for a tiny bit of spice, and then you age it. Minimum 2 weeks, but longer is often better.
Why mint?
Mint's cooling quality is fantastic against the sweetness and the vinegar's tang. It makes for a really bright, complex syrup base for cocktails or just mixing with sparkling water.
And the grand finale. Blueberry thyme vinegar. This sounds serious. Long ferment.
This is the long game, yeah. 10 to 14 weeks of fermentation. What's cool is it uses overripe berries and even the stems, so it's a great way to use fruit that's maybe a bit past its prime for eating fresh.
Waste reduction. Nice. What else goes in?
Raw honey provides sugar for the microbes, fresh thyme sprigs for herbal notes, and crucially, raw apple cider vinegar with the mother. That mother contains the acetic acid bacteria needed to convert the alcohol from initial yeast fermentation of the sugars into vinegar.
So it's a 2-stage ferment, effectively.
Pretty much. The long process extracts incredible color and tannins from the skins and stems, and the thyme infuses beautifully. You end up with a really complex, deeply flavored vinegar, amazing for salad dressings or deglazing a pan.
Okay, we need to cover the rest of the advanced techniques quickly. 9 more. Blueberry saffron cardamom gel. Sounds exotic.
Very. Saffron brings that unique floral, slightly bitter note. Cardamom adds warmth. The key is steeping the saffron threads first, maybe in a tiny bit of warm vodka or water for 30 minutes to really extract the color and flavor before adding it to the blueberry mixture. Use low-sugar pectin here, and go easy on the cardamom. It shouldn't overpower the saffron.
Delicate balance. Okay, blueberry brown butters, vinaigrette base. Brown butter. Nutty flavor.
Exactly. You make brown butter, cook butter until the milk solids toast and turn brown and smell nutty, then strain out those solids. You gently whisk this liquid gold into a reduction of blueberry puree and white balsamic vinegar. The beer noisette flavor gives it incredible depth. It's a base, so you'd use it to dress salads or maybe drizzle over roasted vegetables.
Blueberry spicy chili oil.
Yeah.
Infusion time.
Yep. Gently dry or dehydrate some blueberries first to concentrate them a bit, then submerge them in a neutral oil like grapeseed. Heat the oil gently with dried Sichuan chiles for that numbing heat, maybe some bay leaves, star anise. Let it infuse. You get this sweet, fruity, spicy oil.
What did you use that on?
Drizzle it over noodle bowls, dumplings, maybe even grilled halloumi cheese, savory applications.
Blueberry black garlic paste. More umami. Black garlic is amazing.
Isn't it? That fermented, aged garlic has this deep, sweet, balsamic molasses flavor. You simply puree the soft black garlic cloves with reduced blueberries and a pinch of salt. It creates this dark, intensely savory, slightly sweet paste, dramatic with game meats like venison or duck, or even just spread thinly on a cracker with a sharp cheese.
Blueberry fennel pollen honey. Fennel pollen is potent stuff.
Very aromatic, that intense sweet anise flavor. You gently warm raw honey, don't overheat it, and stir in the fennel pollen and some slightly dried whole blueberries. Then just let it sit and infuse for at least 3 weeks.
Patience again.
Definitely. The pollen needs time to fully flavor the honey. It becomes this incredible, complex floral honey. Amazing on yogurt, ricotta, or baked brie.
2 more liquid extractions. Blueberry sherry reduction. What kind of sherry?
Needs to be something with character. An Oloroso sherry would be great with those nutty, oxidized notes. Reduce the sherry by about half first to concentrate it, then combine it with concentrated blueberry juice and reduce further until syrupy.
Uses.
Fantastic as a glaze for ham or pork, or use it in sophisticated cocktails instead of simple syrup. Adds real depth.
And finally, blueberry ginger turmeric cordial base. Sounds like a health tonic.
Haha. Well, it's vibrant. This is a concentrated syrup, non-alcoholic. You juice fresh ginger and fresh turmeric root, careful turmeric stains, and combine that potent juice with blueberry juice and sugar. You pasteurize it gently, but avoid heavy cooking to keep those bright, volatile flavors from the ginger and turmeric intact.
And you mix it like a cordial.
Exactly. Mix it with sparkling water for a really zingy, refreshing drink. Or use it as a base for creative mocktails or cocktails. That's the full 22.
Okay, wow. That was a culinary marathon.
Yeah.
Now for part 6, the essential wrap-up. Preservation wisdom. This is the practical stuff, gear, safety, planning. If you're going to try these complex preserves, you need the right setup.
Absolutely. Precision is key. You can't just wing it with some of these techniques. So essential equipment, you'll definitely need multiple fermentation vessels, probably glass jars with airlocks, especially if you're doing the sauerkraut or vinegars.
Wow.
Fine mesh strainers are non-negotiable, especially for those super smooth curds and clear gels we talked about. Maybe even cheesecloth for extra filtering. A reliable digital thermometer is crucial. Think about hitting that exact 180 degrees effort for the Duxat confit.
Yeah, you can't guess that.
No way. And finally, pH strips, or even better, a digital pH meter. These are vital for safety with low acid ferments, making sure the environment is acidic enough to prevent harmful bacteria. Plus, they help you nail the flavor balance in things like chutneys and shrubs. Acidity is flavor.
Safety first, always. What are the absolute must-dos?
Sterilization. Everything that touches the food jars, lids, spoons, funnels needs to be properly sterilized, usually by boiling in water for 10 minutes or using a dedicated sanitizer. Think of it as cleaning the dance floor before the party starts. You don't want bad microbes crashing in.
Good analogy. What else?
Label everything, contents, and especially the date it was made. Your memory will fail you, trust me. Good labels are essential for tracking shelf life, especially with ferments, and for knowing which experiment was which.
Right. And temperature monitoring?
Crucial for the longer ferments. Most lacto ferments, like room temperature, maybe 65, 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Too cold and they slow down too hot, and you risk spoilage or off flavors. Consistency is key.
Okay, let's talk timing. People need realistic expectations, right? Not everything is instant gratification.
Not at all. Quick things like a simple blueberry compote or a fresh sauce, yeah, maybe 45 to 90 minutes start to finish. Your standard jams or more involved preserves might take 2 to 4 hours, including cooking and cooling setting time.
But the ferments?
That's where patience comes in. The sauerkraut ferment is 7-10 days. The shrub needs at least 2 weeks of aging. And that blueberry thyme vinegar, you're looking at 10 to 14 weeks. That's 2.5 to 3.5 months before it's really ready. You have to plan ahead.
Good things come to those who wait. Finally, budget and efficiency. These fancy preserves sound expensive.
They can be if you buy everything out of season or pre-made. But the smart approach, buy blueberries in bulk when they're cheap and plentiful in season. freeze them. They freeze beautifully and work perfectly for almost all these cooked applications, especially the long reductions where fresh texture doesn't matter as much.
And the other ingredients.
Many recipes use pretty affordable staples: carrots, leeks, onions, vinegar, sugar, basic spices. Yes, things like saffron or duck fat or black garlic are specialty items, but you use small amounts. The investment is often more in time and technique than costly ingredients.
And making it yourself is cheaper than buying artisanal.
Almost always, yes. A jar of homemade blueberry miso butter or duck fat confit might cost a fraction of what you'd pay for a tiny jar from a gourmet shop. Plus, you get the satisfaction and the ability to tweak it exactly how you like it. It's cost-effective creativity.
So we have really gone deep today. I mean, from understanding the tonal patches of low-bush blueberries growing via rhizomes to knowing the specific scientific names like V. angustifolium versus V. corymbosum. Right, and then identifying the key pests like Rhagoletis mendax targeted by IPM.
All the way down to the nitty-gritty of needing exactly 180 degrees AF for that duck fat confit, or the importance of clear juice extraction for the cucumber gel. It's been incredibly detailed.
So what's the big takeaway from all this detail?
I think it's that knowledge truly is power, especially when it's understood and applied. This deep dive gives you, the listener, the tools to approach the blueberry with real scientific understanding. Whether you're looking at it in the field or getting radically creative in the kitchen, it connects the science to the practice.
Absolutely. And it makes you think, back to that early 20th century partnership between Coville, the scientist, and White, the practical grower. Their focus work fundamentally changed the destiny of this little North American berry, didn't it?
Completely. They basically launched the commercial industry we see today.
An industry that's now so huge, it's a massive global commodity, grown everywhere, shipped everywhere.
Yes.
Which brings us back to that complexity. The fact that this fruit, with its roots here, is now part of international supply chains that are sometimes documented in reports discussing difficult labor practices, like that 2014 report mentioning Argentina.
It's a long journey from a wild berry to a global product.
It really is. So here's a final thought. Considering the precise science needed to even cultivate blueberries successfully, the ongoing battle with pests, the incredible culinary transformations we've discussed, and that complex global journey, is there any other fruit we think of as simple that actually carries such a dense and fascinating history, botanical, commercial, culinary, and even socioeconomic, every single time we encounter it? Makes you look at that pint of blueberries a little differently, doesn't it?